Hello, my name is Mr. Fatul, and in this video, we are going to talk about linear graphs. Okay, when you talk about graph, right, you are going to look at this thing called coordinates. Okay, this coordinate, right, when it comes to graph, we are talking about vertical distance and also horizontal distance, vertical position and horizontal position. Okay, so whatever that you see here, vertical and horizontal position, they always start with horizontal first, and then vertical. The point are known as x-axis and then y-axis. Okay, so this is an example of a graph. All right, when you talk about linear graph, we are talking about straight line graph. Okay, so every point in a graph are labeled as coordinates. So if you look at all of these are what we call as coordinates. All right, the center of the graph obviously is 0 and 0. Why? Because you have not moved any step yet. Okay. So if you look at number line, you know, right? Towards the positive side, it's always towards the right side. And then the left side is negative. If you're talking about vertical, if you're going up, it's positive. You're going down, then negative, right? So in this case, how do you read a point on a graph? So how you read a point on the graph is basically by looking at the position first. You always look at the horizontal position first. Okay, horizontal position. So, for example, if let's say we are going to look at this, how do we get -2 and 3? -2 is the x-axis, 3 is the y-axis. Then the -4 is the x-axis, 5 is the y-axis. And then 0 is the x-axis, 1 is the y-axis, so on and so forth, right? So, now let's look at this -2 and 3. Yeah? How do we get there? Always start from the center first, right? 0, right? So the reason why we get -2 is because this particular point here belongs to -2 on the x-axis. So that's why we put -2 first. And then where did we get the y-axis from? Because the y-axis is coming up from here. See this 3 over here? It connects the point here, right? So that's why you get 3 as the y-axis. Okay. Another example will be this part. Let's say we are talking about this one. Huh? Okay, let's take this example. Okay, how do we get this? Okay, where is the x-axis? We always talk about the horizontal position first, right? So x-axis, bam, bam. So here, 4. So 4 is the x-axis. So where's the y-axis? This point is going down towards -3. So that's how you plot in your points of a graph, the coordinates that they call it. Okay. So you just need to know x-axis is the horizontal position, y-axis the vertical position. The center of the graph, because we have not moved anywhere yet, is always 0 and 0. Okay. So now let's try this point. How to read the coordinates once again. So for part B, so okay, let's why I always start with B. I always start with A first, right? Okay. Let's try A first. Alphabetical order. Okay. A B C D E F G. Okay, come here. So in this case, how do you read your coordinates of the graph? For position and coordinate of A. Look at the x-axis. From the center, A goes to 3. So 3 is the x-axis. Where's the y-axis? A belongs to the top of 4. That's how you read your coordinates of A. Let's try B. B, x-axis position left or right is towards the left of -3. And then the y-axis will be 2. There you go. Okay. Then for C, whereas the x-axis is always on the left. Look for the left and right first. Do not look up and down. Look left and right. Okay. So the left of C is -2. Then the y-axis downwards at -4. Ah, so that's how you read your points. Okay. And then followed by D. Okay, D very simple. That sticks on the horizontal position. The vertical position is -3. So that's how you get. Okay. So now, how do you connect dots on the graph? Okay, now let's first of all, in the last 4 minutes and 38 seconds, we have already learned on how to plot the points really, right? Sorry, we have learned on how to read the coordinates of a point of the coordinates of the graph, right? But okay, whatever. Okay. So how to connect the dots on the graph? So normally they will give you every single graph, they will give you an equation. This one always given. Okay. Every single graph has equation. It can be y equals to 3x minus 4, y equals to 2x plus 1, y equals to x, y equals to x minus 5, and all that. All these are just examples. Okay. So in this case, how to plot in your points of a graph. Okay. So now you always have to draw your box like that. Only when the question did not give you the box, they ask you to draw it on your own. But if the question has already given you the box, then voila, very simple. You just have to fill in the blanks. All right. So in this slide over here, in this content over here, right, they have already asked you to find the values of A and the value of B. Everything else has been given. All right. So how to find the value of A and B? So in this case, how do you read the points of the graph? You always have to read the x-axis first, followed by the y-axis, right? So in this case, x-axis is negative 13, then y is 13. What does it mean then? It means in this equation here, if x is negative 2, you sub x as negative 2. Then once you sub x as negative 2, what will you get for y? 3 bracket minus 2 minus 4. Okay, correct? Then you'll get negative 10. How I get negative 10? Calculator, Casio, Sharp, all these devices can help you with it. Okay? If not, brain cell. If not, then 我不知道 all the best. Okay? So negative 10 after use your calculator. Ta-da! So basically, to find out the missing points, right, you have to sub in whatever values that are given in that coordinate into the equation. So every single number given in a point, you always have to relate it back to the equation itself. Okay. So let's look at this part. Okay, let's say for how to find the value of A, right? How to find the value of A. A is what axis? Basically y axis. All right. This A represents y. So on top of A, they have this number one. This number one represents the x axis. So technically, x you must sub it as 1. So y equals to 3x, which is 3 bracket 1 minus 4. Use your calculator, you get negative 1. So A equals to negative 1. Okay. Now, how to find B? On top of B, they give you the x-axis, right? Which is 2. So which means y equals to 3x minus 4 equals to 3 bracket 2 minus 4. Why is it 2? Because they tell you already what? On top of B is x, right? So x equals to 2. So you just sub x as 2. Then use your calculator again, you get 2. Okay. And then when x equals to 3, y equals to 5. All these are given. All right. So once you're done with it, right? Okay, now how to plot the points? You just have to look at the graph paper itself. So for example, okay, for example, let's look. Okay, let me just casually draw a graph. Wait. This will be easier. Huh. Let's draw a graph here. Okay, so you have this graph, right? If you look at the points, x, the minimum value is negative 13. The highest value is 3. So you have to make sure your coordinates, right, has to reach negative 13 at the lower side. This is x-axis, and then this is y-axis. So in the coordinates here, right, x-axis minimum is negative 13. So on the most left-hand side here, we must put negative 13. And then here, negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. That's followed by 0 lah. Okay. And then here will be 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then for y, the lowest value is negative 13, highest value is 5. So y lowest value, which is the downwards, right? Downward position, lowest value is negative 13. Negative 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So negative 13, negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. Okay. Then the highest one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This graph is extremely inaccurate. Why? Because there is no grid, right? So you cannot find the boxes, right? I'm just using this as an estimation. Okay. just so that you all know how to plot the graph accordingly. Okay. So now, imagine you have that kind of graph paper, right? That graph paper, how to plot the points. Look at this one first. Always look from the left and then you move on all the way to the right. Okay. So now, in the left side, you have x as negative 13, y is negative 13. So in this case, where is the x negative 13, y is negative 13? So it's negative 13, y negative 13. So negative 13 here, y is negative 13 here. So this is the point, then you have to put a cross. You must put a cross. Do not put a large dot. You put a large dot, you will lose marks. Okay. So just take note. All right. And then after that, next one, negative 2 and 10. Okay. The negative 2 and 10. Where's negative 2 here? Over here. Negative 2 and what? Negative 10. Okay, negative 2 and then 10 over here. And then followed by negative 1, followed by negative 1 is 7, negative 7, negative 1 is negative 7 over here, and then followed by 0 and then 4, then followed by negative 0 and negative 4, negative 4, then followed by 1 and what is 1 for A? Negative 1 just now, right? 1 is negative 1, which is here, and negative 2 is 2, negative 3 is 5. So you see all the points here, you just connect them together. Ta-da, that's how you get it, right? This one, there was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to be a negative 13. It's supposed to be a negative 3, actually. Okay, so my bad. So let's ignore this one. All right. So negative 3 will be somewhere around here. Lah. How do we get to know? Because negative 3 bracket is negative 3, right? X is negative 3. So if let's say they tell you x is negative 3, if x negative 3, you get 3 bracket negative 3 minus 4. Then you get negative 13. So negative 3 is negative 13. So here. Then you just join the graph accordingly. Okay, this part. So that's how you plot the points. You connect the dots together. Very simple. Just connect the dots. That's all. Okay. Okay. Now here comes the main thing. You need to understand what is a linear graph. As long as you see linear graph, it is a straight line graph. The moment you see your graph a bit slanted or there's a curved line or whatever shape, right, that is not straight, then it is not a linear graph. Okay, just take it into account. And every single linear graph has a template. What's the template? The equation template. Okay, that is a equation template. So every single graph, remember I told you the equation must be given. All right. If the equation is not given, you have to find the equation yourself. All right. So what's the template of the equation that you must follow? If you look at this part, y equals to x plus 5, y equals to 3x minus 8, 2y plus 6 equals to 10, or 2y plus 6x equals to 10, y equals to negative 2 over 3x plus 6, so on and so forth, right? So in this case, the equation template is given by y equals to mx plus c. Just memorize this one first. This one you have to know. All right. So then you will know. You will realize that okay, now I see y equals to mx plus c, right? I know y, I know x because these are the coordinates of the graph. But what in the blue fish and chip is m, and what in the blue chicken chop is c, right? So in this case, this m is the gradient. And then this C is the y-intercept. I'm pretty sure you'll be like, doesn't matter. Okay. Later on, I will teach you what it means. Right. So now let's talk about the gradient first. So what is the gradient? Gradient is just known as rise over run. What's the rise? The change in the y-axis. You got 2 points, right? So let's say a graph is like that. A graph is given and the line is like this. This is A given as negative 3 and negative 5. And then B is given by 7 followed by 4. Okay. So these are examples. So example of these two. Okay, let's say they ask you to find the gradient of this line. Of this line. So gradient is given, like I said, rise over run. What is rise? The change in the y-axis. how do you read the points? You always read the point from left to right, right? So A is the first coordinate, B is the second coordinate, right? So let's look at the change in the y-axis. What's the change in the y-axis? From negative 5, it goes up all the way to 4. So what's the difference? What's the change? How to find difference? Bigger number minus smaller number, right? So from 4 minus negative 5, 4 minus negative 5, then over, right, that's a rise, rise over run. What's the run? Run is change of x-axis. So x-axis started from 3, it ended at 7. So it moved to the right by how many steps? So you get 7 minus negative 3. Then you get your answer. 9 over 10. That's how you get your answer. All right. So what's the formula then? What's the formula of the rise over run? It is basically y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You need to know this. All right. You need to know this first. So in this case, if we are talking about the rise over run concept, right? So now let's talk about what is y2, what is y1, what is x2, and what is x1. Okay, what is x1 actually? So in this case, remember I told you whenever you read coordinates of a line of graph, right? You always start from the left and then you end on the right, right? So basically, A is the first coordinate. So you put x1 followed by y1. Remember, coordinates always x-axis and then y-axis, right? So B is the second coordinate. You write x2 followed by y2. Simple as that. All right. So then just pump in the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y2 minus y1 is the rise. Then x2 minus x1 is the run. It's the rise over run. The change of the y-axis over the change of the x-axis. That's how you find gradient. If you look at these lines of gradient, right? All these gradients, right? They are all representing what? Improvement or deprovement. So basically very simple. If you know your grades have improved, the gradient is a positive. All right. This is what we call the positive gradient. If you have deproved in your marks, then it's the negative gradient. Okay, straightforward. So in this case, let's say you're talking about coordinates of C can be negative 7 and 10, and coordinates of D then can be 8 and negative 9. Okay, so how to find the gradient? Okay, now let's check whether my statements are correct, because I said that if the line is going down, the gradient must be a negative, right? Okay, now let's see. Where is y2, where is y1, where is x2, where is x1? I'm just talking about the formula here. So first of all, go and label. Always label from the left and right. So x1 and y1. Then followed by coordinates of D can be x2 and y2. So same thing, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 is negative 9, minus y1 is negative minus 10. Then x2 is 8, minus x1 is negative 7. So you realize whenever I minus off with a negative number, I must put a bracket. Because if I don't put a bracket, that's it. Your entire gradient is wrong. So please be careful. Please be careful, okay? For the love of God, please be careful, okay? So now 9 minus 10, you get negative 19. Negative 9 minus 10, you get negative 19. 8 minus negative 7, you get positive 15. Then you get your answer. And then you get negative 19 over 15. So does that give you a negative gradient? Yes, it does. Ta-da! Very simple, right? That's how you find gradient. All right. Okay, now all these. Okay, another example. Another example, let's say A and B. Remember I told you for A and B, where's the first coordinate? A. So label first. Always learn how to label. All right. A. What's the x-axis? Negative 2. What's the y-axis? Negative 1. Positive 1. Okay. So A is one, negative 2, and 1 only. See, I asked you question, don't know how to answer. I'm just kidding. It's a video. Nobody answers my question because I'm a loner. Okay, fine. Okay, so A is negative 2 followed by 0. Right? How about B? B is 4 and 3. That's how you plot in your coordinates, right? So where is x2? Where is x1? So x1 here, y1 here, x2 here, y2 here. Simple, right? So how to find gradient? You just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's all. Then you just find out lah. 3, what? 3 minus 0 over 4 minus negative 2. So 3 minus 0 over 4 minus negative 2. Then you get half in your calculator. Go and calculate. How do I check whether it's correct or not? Look at my gradient. It's going up, right? So should my gradient be a positive or negative? Positive. Whee! Easy, right? Okay, now. Okay, one more. All these gradients, very simple. Okay, now. Remember, back to the previous slide that we talked about. The y equals to mx plus c, right? Where is it? Okay, here. Y equals to mx plus c. So, we have already found the gradient. So, you know m is the gradient, all right? Now, what is y-intercept? Y-intercept is basically, intercept means what? You touch, right? When you are playing sports, you intercept your friend. What does it mean? It's not like you touch your friend, haha, I touch. No, it's not like that. Okay. So when I think intercept means you get in contact with your friend. Like for example, you do a slide tackle. Wow, you intercept the ball. See, you touch the ball, right? You get in contact with the ball. All right. So that's what it means by y. That's what it means by intercept. So y intercept means touch the y axis. Okay. So always remember when it comes to anything that touches the y axis, right? You must always make x as 0. So this is the general concept, the general template concept. Okay. But when it comes to this equation, right? Let's look downwards. They ask you to find the equation of the line. Just follow three simple steps. Just follow only. Can follow. Follow blindly also can. Right? So for example, okay, let's not talk about example first. Let's talk about the step first. So every time they ask you to find the equation of the line, first step, find the gradient. What's the gradient? Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. Once you are done with the gradient, let's say after you find out the gradient is half. So let's say the gradient is half, right? Now look at step 2. Rewrite the formula with the value of m, means with the gradient value. So now y equals to half x plus c. Okay. So now next part, substitute any coordinate of the line. Like for example, on that particular line, you just sub in any coordinate of the value, which means y and x value. Once you sub in the value, right, you can find the value of c. Then that's it. You can just rewrite the equation once again. You get your equation. Simple, right? Okay, now let's try an example. How to find this equation of line L. Okay, now let's look at line L. It's just one straight line, right? You don't even know what's the coordinates here and there, right? Just pick 2 points, just random 2 points. So in this case, I have this point here. This point is what's the coordinate here? -2 and 3. That this point will be 1 and -3. Okay. So now I have 2 points. What's the first step? Find the gradient. Remember, okay, always remember first, y equals to mx plus c. First step, find the value of m, which is the gradient. So what's the gradient? Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So which is, this is x1, this is y1, x2 followed by y2. Right? So in this case, y2 minus y1, -3 minus 3, which are written down here, over 1 minus -2. 1 minus -2. So I just write out my gradient. I get -6 over 3, which is -2. Okay, so now you know m is -2. So m is -2. We get it already, right? Okay, so now what's the next step? Step 1, find m. Step 2, rewrite the equation with the value of m on it, right? So y equals to -2x plus c. I rewrite the m value, right? That's all. All right. So what's the next equation? Next step. Third step. Sub in any coordinates. Okay? Sub in any coordinate onto the line. Any coordinates. Any coordinates. So which 2 points? I already written down 2 points, right? So submit any coordinate lah. So in this case, I can choose the coordinate of 1 and -3. Where is 1 and -3? I chose this one. I chose this coordinate. If you choose this coordinate, also can. It doesn't matter. You still get the same answer. Okay. So now, remember I have this equation thus far, right? From the previous slide, right? Where's the previous slide? Over here. See? y equals to negative 2x plus c because negative 2 is an n value. So I got this one already, right? So now I chose 1 and negative 3 coordinate. It means x equals to 1, y equals to negative 3. X is 1, y is negative 3. What do I do next? I just sub in. Remember, I told you to substitute the values of x and y. So x is 1, y is negative 3. So y is negative 3 equals to negative 2, x which is 1 plus c. So now open up the bracket, negative 3 equals to negative 2 plus c. Bring over the negative 2, it becomes positive. So c equals to negative 3. You bring over the 2, becomes a positive. Then you get negative 1. Right? So since we already found the c value, rewrite the equation. Equation must always be y equals to something, right? So y equals to negative 2x, which is the m and the x plus c. But what is c? Negative 1, right? Just sub in c as negative 1. That's all. Don't need to sub the values of x and y. We are not interested to find x and y because x and y can change over time. But the gradient m and the c will not change. It will always be the same. All right. That's how you find the line of the equation of the line. Okay, now let's try another example. Okay, now you have A and B. Yeah. So let's connect the lines together first. That is so not straight at all. Okay. Yay. Okay. So now where's the gray? Where's the first coordinate? Where's the first coordinate? A. So A is x1 and y1. B will be x2 followed by y2. So what's the equation again? Y equals to mx plus c. You realize not? Every time you want to find equation, every time I want to find equation, I always write out the equation first so that you exactly know what's going on, right? So first step, find n, which is the gradient, right? So what's the formula for gradient again? Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 is 6 minus y1, which is 1, over x2, which is 6, minus x1, which is negative 4. So you get 5 over 10, which is half. So the gradient is half now. So what's next? So since you know the gradient is half, right? So what you do next is, oh no, since you know the gradient is half, right? What you can do is, you can rewrite the equation. So y equals to m, which is half x plus c. Rewrite the equation, right? Then next step, the last step, find c. How to find c? Sub in any coordinate. So which coordinate you want me to sub? Left or right? Okay. Usually I always choose the one with more positive number so that I can, minimize the risk of having careless mistake. Okay. So just put all six and things. So I put the coordinate of b. So which means coordinate of b here, x is 6, y is 6, right? So I just submit the value. Y is 6 equal to half x. X is 6 also plus c. So 6 is equal to 3 plus c. C is equal to, you bring the 3 over, it becomes negative. So all these are basic equations. So you must know all this. If you don't, please watch my other videos on algebraic expressions and manipulation. Then you'll get to know. Okay. So c equals to 3. So now what's the equation then? Y equals to half x plus 3. That's all. Okay. Now, that's how you find the equation of the line. Very simple, right? That's all for this topic. Simple. Last but not least, just for you all to know. Okay. Every single graph, right, they have the intercept, x intercept, followed by y intercept. Okay. X intercept and then y intercept. So what is x intercept then? For every x intercept, right, it means you touch the x-axis. When you touch the x-axis, you have to make y equals to 0. Then after that, find x. When they give you y-intercepts, it means make x equals 0, find y. Very simple. Okay? So in this case, okay, we talk about equation of the line, right? Where's the equation of the line? Okay, let's talk about this one. For example, okay? So now you know the equation of the line is given as y equals to 2 minus 1. Okay, negative 2x minus 1. So now, where is the y-intercept? Y-intercept. Y-intercept means make x equals 0, find y. Make x as 0, go and find y. So y equals to 2 bracket 0 minus 1. The negative 2 bracket 0 minus 1. Then you get negative y. So which means the y-intercept coordinate will be 0 and negative 1. Why coordinate is 0 and negative 1? Why is it 0 and negative 1? Because every coordinate start with the x-axis and then y-axis, right? Remember y-intercept I already made x as 0. That's why I put x as 0. Then y is negative 1 from the equation itself, right? How to prove? You look at the line here. Y-intercept. See, it touches the y-intercept. Y is negative 1. Ta-da! That's all. Okay. Now, where is x-intercept? So now x-intercept. When it comes to x-intercept, what must be 0? Y becomes 0. So x-intercept. So make y as 0, find x. Okay. So y is 0, and then you find x. 0 equals to negative 2x minus 1. You bring the negative 2x over, it becomes the positive. So 2x equals negative 1, which means x is negative half. So if you look at the coordinates, it cuts on the half scale. Okay. So what's the coordinate then? Coordinates of x-intercept. X is negative half. We have already found out from the equation, right? So what is y? Y becomes 0. Because why? Because x-intercept make y as 0. That's all. Okay. Now we have finally come to the end of this topic. See, half an hour. You can learn one topic for math with full out explanation. If you practice this within 2 hours, right, you can finish this topic and master it without any problem. Okay. So all the best. Go and revise.